Okay, so to replace your power steering pump, first thing you need to do is remove the belt. So to remove the belt, first thing we're going to do is remove this first cover. All the parts and tools will be listed in the video description, along with torque specs. So you have a 10mm right here. Deep socket will get you in there. And then pop that off. You'll see it plugs into a little boot there. Now to loosen the first belt, we're going to be undoing the alternator. We're just going to crack this bolt here loose with a 12mm. Just loosening it. So once you have that cracked loose, right underneath the belt here's another 12mm. We're going to loosen that. And then once that's loosened, you're going to loosen this long threaded bolt right here. This is the one that actually adjusts the tension on the belt. As we loosen this, the belt will get loose. And you'll actually watch the alternator drop down. You'll be able to remove the belt. Just like so. So once you'd have your new belt on there, to adjust the tension, the manual says you should be able to take it with a thumb and a finger and turn it a half a turn. Basically, just don't go crazy with it. There's no actual deflection number I can find, but you should have a little bit of slack in that belt. It shouldn't be so tight you can't even push down on it, so just kind of use common sense there. And that's all there is replacing the power steering belt. So now to continue with the removal of the power steering pump, this first bolt that we loosened, we now need to take completely out. That's going to separate the alternator from the power steering pump mounting bracket. So we'll just set this off to the side, and the alternator now is just going to hang there. Next thing you can do is go ahead and remove this shield over here. You have a couple body clips here. Most likely they're either broke or missing or loose enough you don't even need to touch them. Just pop that off. You have a couple different bolts you have to do here. The power steering pump is going to come off with its mounting bracket. To do that, we have one bolt that's back in here that you can't really see. You'll see when you're looking at your vehicle, but if you look right straight down through all this conglomerate of mess, you'll see the bolt. And you're going to need a 12-inch extension to get down in there. I'd suggest you have a magnetic pickup tool on hand if you don't already, because most likely you're going to lose that back in there. Okay, you're going to have two more 12mm to remove then. One you can see right there, straight down from the alternator mounting bracket, and then the other one's going to be under the pulley where you can't see, but directly under, if you feel with your hand, you'll feel what I'm talking about. And take note of the length of this bolt. It is going to be slightly different than some of the others, so make sure you're putting the right bolts back in the right spots. So here you can see about where I'm at on that bolt that's underneath there. And once you get to this one, you'll start to notice the whole bracket's loosening up. And it's a shorter one. Okay, now we're ready to undo our hose here. Again, all the different tools I use will be in the video description with links. So we don't really need it here. We can use regular pliers, but I want to show you these, what are called hose clamp pliers. As you squeeze the handle, it'll pinch the hose clamp open, and then it'll lock also, so you don't have to hold it. It has a lock on here, and then you just hit the button to release it. We have our stopper and plug kit, which is great for plugging up the line so we're not dripping fluid all over. So there's a look at some of the stuff that comes in this kit. But so to demonstrate these hose clamp pliers, just put the arms right on there. Squeeze it, and then like I said, it locks it. And I can slide that right out of the way. These are awesome for when you're working on those hoses that are like way down in where they're hard to reach. So just a great tool to have in the toolbox. So moving on, we're going to pop this off. Might have been better to do this while it was still bolted on there. Just going to stick my thumb over that real quick. Yep, so that plug there fits perfectly on there. It's not under pressure real bad, so you're not going to lose too much just by gravity. Just shove a rag in the end of the hose if you don't have a plug that fits it. Now the last thing we need to do before we can remove this is the other pressure line right here. It's going to be 14mm for this line. And yeah, I would suggest you undo these hoses before you take off that last mounting bolt. That'll help hold it in place better. Something else that you've probably done first, I almost forgot about, is this electrical harness right here. It's just a single 1-wire plug right on top of the power steering pump. Just go ahead and unplug that. And right there's that bolt in the back that was so hard to reach. Now you're not done yet. So to remove the pump from the bracket, you're gonna have a bolt on the back side. It's like an external Torx. If you don't have the specific one, I have an external Torx set and I don't have the right size. It's that in-betweeny that doesn't fit anything. Use a 12 millimeter socket. That'll also work just fine for cracking that loose. Then on the front side, you're gonna have 2 more Torx inside there. They're T40s, and you can rotate around the pulley to access them. You have one right there and one at the top. Now so go ahead and crack those loose, and then this entire assembly will come off from the bracket. And then you do need to reuse your harness here. So it just unplugs from the back, and you should have a rubber boot. This one's all disintegrated and gone. And then on the top, you can use the 10 millimeter to take off the whole mounting bracket, or underneath there, just take a pair of pliers and press the arms together and it'll pop off. And then that's all there is to it. When you put your new pump in the bracket, don't forget about the bolt in the back. Make sure your new pump came with a new pressure switch, which is right there. Don't forget to plug your harness and all that in before you put it back in the car. But that's all there is to removing and replacing the power steering pump. All of your torque specs, you're torquing into aluminum, so be careful. 16 foot-pounds is all you need on all this, or just snug it. You don't need to snug it plus a half turn. It's aluminum, you're gonna strip it out. So just take it easy with putting all these bolts back in when you're done there. Now the reason I did this particular job is this is the new pump we just put in, but we were spitting all kinds of trouble codes. So I'm thinking that we have a bad pressure switch right from the factory. So I'm going to put the old pressure switch in here and see what happens. We were getting all kinds of codes. One final thing, once you have your new pump in there, to bleed the system, fill it up with fluid. You'll see the cold max on your reservoir. Jack the front end of the car up, put jack stands under it, and then turn the wheel all the way to the left, all the way to the right several times. That's how you bleed a hydraulic system. Work it all the way one way, then all the way the next. Check the fluid level, then let it down on the ground and take it for a drive. You can do it without jacking the car up, but it's a lot better and safer to do it without pressure on the wheels until you get the system bled. Really hope this video helped you out. Please subscribe if it has. I'm sure there's going to be more WRX stuff coming. Really appreciate you watching, and I thank you for your support.